We are starting now. Thank you all for joining. Can you please mute yourself, please? I'd like to say thanks to all that are present and all that will be linking up through the recording later. So you're welcome to Soft Skills Masterclass. And I'd like to also say thank you for joining for a February class of the Soft Skills for Students. So once again, my name is Abiola Awokiyesi. I'm a soft skill instructor at Mindklass. And we're on the mission to develop, to train, to instruct students to develop themselves, to know who they are, and to become their best in life. As an introduction to the topic of today, the picture before us is the name of the man, is a man, Yinka Obalade. He is the MD of Global Bank, as in the one-time MD of Global Bank. And if you ask him what is one of his secrets of success, he would possibly tell you that it is his affection for knowledge, his continuous desire to know. And being a man who came from a poor family, very poor, to the extent that it is often said, he said it himself, that if anybody in his village then wants to curse anyone, they often say that may you be as poor as the family of the Obalades. So they were that poor. And Yinka Obalade could only stay in school when he was in high institution if he maintained a first-class grade point. So he struggled all through his primary and secondary school education. He struggled. But when he got to an institution, he was opportune and privileged to get a scholarship. And the kind of scholarship was that you will only get the money to pay your school fees if only you maintain a first class. And that was what awoken his passion and his desire to know. And today I want to tell you that Mr. Yinka Obalade changed the history of his family, changed the history of his life, and it became his best through his passionate pursuit for knowledge. So as a student, you can become your best, no matter where you are, no matter how poor your family may be, no matter how poor your performance is, your best year is yet to come. If you think that you can't know, if you think that mathematics is hard, I want to tell you this evening that you can do it. If Mr. Yinka Obalade could do it, then you can do it. And that is why we are looking at the topic this evening, developing affection for knowledge. We hope that by the end of this course, our students will be able to understand what is knowledge, the importance of knowledge, a particular knowledge that changed the world, how they would understand how to develop affection for knowledge, and lastly, would develop passionate love for knowledge. As a definition, what is knowledge? Knowledge means to know. Philosophers often say that no one can know. I remember one of my professors back in higher institution would say that there is no professor of law. There is nothing like professor of mathematics. He said there is only a professor of an aspect of law under a sub-aspect of that law in a small aspect of that area. Now, what he's trying to say here is that there is a lot to know. And the popular saying goes that there is no man who is an island of knowledge. So there are a lot to know in life. And that's why it says here that knowledge means to know. So if you say you know mathematics, what does it really mean? The second definition of knowledge We said knowledge means having enough information to do well at something. It can be in your subjects, and also to take the best decision in life. So one of the reasons why students perform poorly in their study is because of lack of enough knowledge, enough information, enough skills, ideas to do well in that subject. So as a student, if you are performing poorly, the major reason is because you do not know enough. You do not have enough knowledge in that biology, in physics, in mathematics. That is the basic reason. And when we talk about the making of decision, wise decision is often made when you know enough. The life of people who are not learned, who do not have affection for knowledge, they make poor decisions in life. And that is why, if you ask one of the reasons why people commit suicide, is because of lack of knowledge of how to manage their emotions, of how to manage their mental health. So knowledge is very important in life. Knowledge means having enough knowledge. Enough knowledge. So do well at something and to take a best decision in life. So the last definition that we are looking at, which is a definition of affection for knowledge. We said it refers to love for continuous learning about something. We often say that learning is a lifelong process. And as a student, the more you learn, the more you grow. There is no growth if a life is not committed to learning. So you don't just know about your subjects, mathematics, physics, and the likes. You know about life. You know about behavior. You know about yourself. Like what someone said, that one of the greatest things that you should know about is to know about this machine, that's yourself, which is the most sophisticated, the most complex machine in the whole world. So how much knowledge do you know will be dependent on how much you are willing to continue to know. So knowledge, affection for knowledge simply means that you give yourself to know more continuously, not just about your subject, but about life in general. If you remember the story of Benkasi, one of the reasons why he was able to get admission into Johns Hopkins University was because of his knowledge about classical music. When he got to Johns Hopkins University, he said he met a doctor who had interest in classical music, but he appears like he does not have someone that he could be discussing about classical music with. But when he met Benkasi and he discovered that Benkasi has knowledge about classical music, they developed interaction, friendship developed, and that indirectly made him a potential student of Johns Hopkins University. Because he didn't just know about biology, he didn't just know about the human brain, but he also invested in knowledge in other areas of life. When you see those who have affection for learning, they don't just know physics, they don't just know biology, they don't just know mathematics, they know about life in general. So continuous learning, and for you to have a balanced life when it comes to being an educated person, you give yourself to knowing about your subjects and knowing about life in general. Why should you seek knowledge as a student? Number one, the more you know, the more you grow. It is important that as a student that you give yourself to growing. It is often said that if you're not growing, then you are drying, you are dying. Just like a plant. a plant is either growing or it is dying. So as a student, if you don't give yourself to knowing, and the world is changing daily, the way the world works 10 years ago is not the way the world is working today. The way occupation used to be 10 years ago is not the way occupation or job is today. So things are changing. And that's why you need to give yourself to learning, to understand how things are changing, to be able to make yourself important as regarding the changes of life. Number two, it is the basis of who we are. Someone says that we are an embodiment of knowledge. The major reason between the major difference between you and Dangote is what Dangote knows that you do not know. If all the wealth of Dangote is given to you, I want to tell you today that you wouldn't look anything like Dangote, because you only have his wealth, and if you are not careful, you will lose the wealth, because you are not Dangote. But if you have the knowledge, all that Dangote knows, there's a high tendency that you would have the wealth of Dangote. Now the point here is that you are a sum total of what you know, because it is what you know that will determine what you say, that will determine how you reason, that will determine what you are going to do in the next minutes, that will determine your future. So that's why you need to improve your life by improving your knowledge, by developing affection for knowledge. Number three, it is the basis of national development. The countries that are doing well in the world, they are countries that are investing in knowledge. They are countries that are carrying out research. They are countries that value knowledge. It is often said that if you want to hide anything from a black man, hide it in a book. Does it apply to you as a student? So if someone wants to hide anything from you, and a person hides it in a book, then we have the greatest problem in life. So if you remember the story of the Wright brothers, they were only able to contribute to the world. They were able to move the world forward because of their investment in knowledge. The same thing applies to Ben Carson. If he had not invested in knowledge, if he had not developed himself, he wouldn't have known to the extent that he knew that he was able to separate the twins that were joined together. And he was able to accomplish the record which he had at Johns Hopkins University. He was one of the greatest neurosurgeons in the world. Number four, it put more money in your pocket. Mark Zuckerberg today is known as one of the richest men, even if he didn't finish school. But this man has affection for knowledge. And I want to tell you that he is still reading today. One of the things I learned about the life of Mark Zuckerberg is that he reads about different cultures, different countries' values. And because this is in line with his business, with the Facebook, which is now the Meta company. So, developing affection for knowledge indirectly puts more money in your pocket. And that's why when you look at an accountant, it's likely to earn lower than an accountant who is a chartered accountant. And this is because a chartered accountant is more educated, is more learned than an ordinary accountant. So, passion for continuous learning, passion for knowledge, puts more money indirectly into your pocket. Number five is that it makes you reason better. So those of us who have passion for knowledge are likely to reason better. And this is someone that the way they talk, the way they communicate, it's quite irritating because of the way they communicate. They are not communicating wisdom. There is no intelligence. Their use of words is dry. We're not talking about the use of English, but we're talking about the fact that the words that they were communicating in lacks wisdom. So it deepens our reasoning ability. Have you seen a 12, a 13-year-old boy or girl whose reasoning, whose thinking is like a 40-year-old person? That can only be accomplished by having a passionate pursuit for knowledge. Gone are the days when it is usually said that wisdom lies with the old people, with the aged. It is not absolutely so today. Because when you have the passion for knowledge, you can be 20 and your mode of thinking, your reasoning, your decision-making ability is like that of a 50-year-old person. And that's why when you look at other countries, or some countries in Africa, you discover that they have young people that are leaders in the country, young people that are senators, young people that are governors. And this is because they are the kind of person who have passion for knowledge. And that is the kind of person that you as a student will hope you will become. Number 6, it helps us to solve problems. Problem will always abound where there is lack of knowledge, lack of passion for knowledge. Just like without passion for knowledge, passion with which the medical doctors would continue to seek knowledge, there wouldn't have been a vaccine to prevent the COVID-19, the spread of the COVID-19. So that is why in every areas of life, when we are knowledgeable enough, we are able to solve problems. When you look at families that are not happy, families that the wife and the husband are always fighting, when you look at a child who is not doing well academically, when you look at a country where there is corruption, there is problem, one of the reasons is because of lack of knowledge about how to do well in that area of life. Number 7, everything dies or lives based on how much we know or do not know. So what we do not know can kill. So as a student, you need to invest more in knowledge. That is why the popular saying is true, that people perish because of the lack of knowledge. Number 8, it can never be too much. No one can ever know too much in life. But one can be too ignorant. But knowledge can never be too much. Every other thing in life can be too much. The eating of food can be too much. Sleeping can be too much. Working can be too much. But when we talk about investment in knowledge, it can never be too much because you can never over-invest in knowledge. And remember this, the greatest pursuit in life is not money. The greatest pursuit in life is not the comfort of life. The greatest pursuit in life is knowledge. This is what you find in countries like Singapore, countries like China. They invest more in knowledge that is able to develop their country. And because of this, they are one of the most developed countries in the world, including America and other countries that are regarded as developed countries. Why should you seek more knowledge as a student? A research was carried out by Mindklass in the year 2019. This research was carried out in around 5 schools in Lagos State. And we asked the question, why do you think that you are not doing well academically? We asked 200 students. And we found that the majority of the students said The reason why they are not doing well academically is because of the lack of motivation to study. And this is immediately followed by students who mentioned that they're having issues or problem with retention, followed by difficulty with understanding. If you look at the number which carries the 32.5%, 65 students out of these 200 said, I am the problem of myself. So they said they are just the problem of their self. So when we further ask the next question, we ask that, have you ever thought about this problem that you think you are having for at least 5 minutes before this research was conducted? And 19.2% said no, that they have never thought about it. 24.2% said they are not willing to answer whether they have thought about it or not. So there's a tendency that around 40% said they have never thought about it, while just 56.6% of students said they have thought about the challenge before. We have two assumptions of knowledge before us. Number one, the greatest or most intelligent have not used up to 10% of what their brain is capable of. This is one of the assumptions in science that when I learned about it, it caused me to want to become more, to develop myself the more, to read more. Because the more you read, the more strength, the more potentials of your brain develops. There was a time when traveling from one place to another was on foot. Now, the potential of human brain improved, and there was development of ship. There was development of bicycle, development of motorcycle, development of car, development of airplane in the year 1903. So the point here is that according to science, scientific assumption, if you look at the greatest person, the most intelligent person, they have not even used up to 10% of the ability of their brain. So as a student, are you the best in the class? Are you the head boy, the head girl? What is your percentage? Do you often have up to 90% in class? If that is so, I want to remind you today, according to this scientific assumption, you have not even used up to 10% of the potential of your brain. The second assumption this evening is anyone who thinks he knows do not know enough as he or she should know. The point here is that if you think that you know, if you think that I am the guru in mathematics, if you think I am the best in school, you are not there yet. You can know more. By the time you graduate from secondary school and you get admitted into the higher institution, you are going to meet a number of other intelligent and more wise students. And that's why you need to strive to know more. You need to strive to develop yourself the more, to become more. And that is why it is said here that if you think you know, you do not know enough as you should know. The only way to get the knowledge that changes the world, there is a kind of knowledge that changes the world. What is that kind of knowledge? If you look at those, there are many who didn't even go to school, like the Wright brothers. They never went to school, but they had a knowledge, a kind of knowledge that turned the world around for good. A lot of those who are inventors, a lot of those who are business successful person, you discover that they spent few years in school and they dropped out. Why? What kind of knowledge, what kind of education was on their mind that made them drop out of school to pursue their vision, their goal. It is the self-thought or self-sought knowledge. That's why as a student, when as much as you are developing yourself, as much as you are reading to understand physics, biology, mathematics, further maths, and others, you need to understand that the knowledge that changes the world, the knowledge that will help you change yourself, the knowledge that will help you to manifest your true self, is the knowledge that you seek after in your closet, in your room, in your bedroom, on your reading table. That is the knowledge that will change your life the most. You spent around 8 hours in school, and out of those 8 hours, students hardly give up to 50% of their concentration within 6 hours of that 8 hours to learn what they need to learn in school. And most of the hours, most of the time, is spent at home. So schools, staying or going to school, the essence is to prepare the foundation of your knowledge. We go to school to get the foundation of our knowledge prepared, to prepare our mind, to prepare that foundation. Don't forget that many of what we learned, even those who dropped out of school, they went to school for a few years and they had the foundation. The foundation of their education was prepared, but they invested more in the sought after, the self-sought after knowledge. And that was what made Ben Carson also. He read more at home than he read in school. When he said, I understand human brain, it was not a school. It was not a teacher that taught him. The teacher prepared the foundation of his mind, of his knowledge. But he went on to build on what the teacher has taught him. And he read to an extent that he said, I understand human brain. So I want to encourage you today. It is the knowledge that you seek for that changes your life. The knowledge that you invest in. The knowledge that you wake up in the morning, say, I'm going to read this book cover to cover. That is the knowledge that changes the world. The Wright brother never went to any school, any business school to learn how to build aeroplane. Likewise, Dangote never went to any school on how to build Dangote group of company. He went to school to get a basic foundational knowledge upon which, after he finished from the school, he continued in the self-thought, self-sought after knowledge. He went after extra knowledge that informed his decision, that made him make wise decision to build the Dangote group of company that we have today. So as a student, you need to invest in the self-sought after knowledge. How do we develop affection for knowledge? Number one, find out your area of interest. There should be an area of life that is of interest to you. If you remember, when we're talking about Ben Carson, it was music, classical music in particular, that was interest to Ben Carson. And because of his interest in classical music, he was able to, be among one of the person that was chosen at Johns Hopkins University as one of the privileged students, because he didn't just have passion for knowledge in medicine, becoming a neurosurgeon, but he also had passion for other areas of life. And that's why you need to find an area, a few numbers of area that is of interest to you. And you develop the passion to know. You develop knowledge, a deep enough knowledge in that area. Number two, you need to read stories, books, and biographies of people, particularly those who went from rag to riches, those who went from nothing to something, those who were able to overcome challenges in life. This, in particular, can help someone who has never read in a while to develop affection for reading. Everybody likes stories. Everybody likes insightful stories, stories that can, awaken your interest. Story of people who suffered and became something in life. So if you invest in this area, it's going to really be a great plus for you. Number 3, keep bookworm friends. Someone said you are the same person you are today in 5 years' time, except for 2 things: the books you read and the companies you keep, the friends you keep. So if you keep friends who does not have affection for book, you are most likely not going to read books. You are most likely not going to develop affection for knowledge. So as a young student, it is very important that you develop affection for knowledge. It's very important that you keep bookworm friends and not friends who are not bookworm. Number 4, get yourself a mentor who is bookworm. So this mentor can help recommend books. This mentor can explain points. This mentor can help inspire you. This mentor can motivate you, can analyze the read books with you. So number 5, mentor others to read. This can be a sibling. This can be a friend. So you need to understand that mentorship is very, very important. And like it is often said, if you don't have someone you are following, you may not have someone following you in life. And that is one of the attributes of leadership. Leaders have someone they are following, and they also have people who are following them. Number 6, if a knowledge is not interesting to you, drop it. You don't have to struggle to know. You don't have to be dragging yourself to know or to deepen your knowledge in an area of life. But the point here is that you can know. So if the knowledge that you really need to know that is before you is important enough, you can develop interest in it, even if you are struggling, even if you think that you're not finding it interesting. For example, if you are a student and you have been saying that you hate mathematics, and because mathematics is a compulsory subject, I want to tell you that you can do it. You will have to first develop interest in it. Then you can talk about how you can find your way around it. So to develop interest in something is the first step in doing well at that thing. If you are not interested at all, your mind, your body will be disinterested also. So whenever the teacher comes into the class, your mind is blocked. Your concentration is taken away. So that's why you will need to awaken your interest in an area which is very important that you pay attention to. But if a knowledge, for example, if you are an art student and you get a scientific fiction novel and you're not finding your way around the book, it is not interesting to you. You have to drop it. So these are the 6 ways on how to develop the passion or the affection for knowledge. As we conclude this evening, this is Dr. Kolaole Olukoya. He happened to come from a poor family. And while he was asking questions, while he was seeking how he could move from being poor to a successful man in life, a white teacher in his class when he was very young said, if you want to be successful, read your book. If you want to escape poverty, read your book. If you want to be great in life, he heard it, read your book. And this man began to invest in knowledge. He said he would read, lock himself up, and would read for over 10 hours. He became so educated that only him could represent Nigeria to present a paper in molecular genetics that professors could not. because of his affection for knowledge, because of his investment in knowledge. So as a student, the lesson this evening is that you need to pursue your knowledge. And I want you to remember that you are an embodiment of knowledge. The difference between you and Dangote, the difference between you and anybody is what you know, which is different from what they know. So what we'll be discussing around this evening today is, what do you think is more dangerous between ignorance and false knowledge? So, Mrs. Priscilla, would you like to contribute to this evening's discussion? What do you think is more dangerous between ignorance and knowledge, ignorance and the false knowledge?
Okay, for me, ignorance is the state whereby you don't know where, you don't have information of what you
Indeed.
To the next level. And then false knowledge to me is like knowledge that is not true, but is a knowledge, but it's not true. But ignorance is when you don't even have it at all. That's my understanding of the difference.
Okay, thank you very much. We can say that.
But it's always better to get the right knowledge, because the right knowledge is the paved way that enables you to be able to get to that state you desire. For example, you gave an example of the difference between Dangote and us are what he knows. So if we know, for example, we desire to have the kind of business he has, if we know what he knows, it will give us an edge to be able to know which step to take to enable us strive to achieve that thing we so desire.
Very true, very true. Very true. Thank you very much. I really appreciate your contribution, Mrs. Priscilla. Thank you for joining this evening. And just as you have beautifully said, false knowledge can be very, very dangerous. Ignorance is also dangerous. So we can say that both are dangerous. And ignorance can lead to false knowledge.
That's true.
So that's true. Acting on ignorance, and that's one of the reasons why a lot of things is not working in a lot of people's life. When you look at relationships, if you look at a student's life, if you look at a lot of decisions that is being made today, it is made based on either ignorance or false knowledge. So as a student, as many that will be watching, as many that will be learning from this webinar, when it is uploaded on the website, we'd like you to learn as much as possible to escape ignorance and never be a victim of false knowledge. Thank you very much, and we appreciate your presence, Mrs. Priscilla. I don't know if you have any question, addition, or subtraction from today's class. So in the absence of question,
I have a question.
Okay, you're welcome.
All right. If one, like you just talked about, the importance of why we need knowledge. Like you said, there was a point you gave that said that scientists said an average human does not use more than 10% of the brain, like utilize the brain effectively. Now, after hearing this, and like there's a saying that says that you cannot force a horse to the river. You can force a horse to the river, but you cannot make the horse to drink the water. So how do you encourage them to see, because the need for knowledge, we talked about the importance of knowledge, how to get knowledge, seeking a mentor, reading books and all that. Now, I've known this, but still I don't want to take steps. How do I get to a point of taking steps? Like, okay, like it's time that how do I get to that quest? Some people might be saying, okay, I've heard this, but how do I push myself? That's the question I want to ask, because somehow I know the answer, but it might be someone's question that I've heard this, yet I've heard this that in this why knowledge is so important, why it gives me edge, why it makes me how to acquire it. Then how do I drive myself? Because personal drive is really key. Because when there's no drive, so many things will just remain at the state of rest. So that's why I want to emphasize to ask questions for those students that are feeling, yes, I've known what this topic is all about, but how do I drive myself towards achieving it?
So that is a very brilliant question. Number one, if let's assume you are the student and you are saying that how can you drive? How do you drive yourself to really be a passionate, uh, someone who has passion for knowledge? Number one is that there is need to have an open mind. You would agree with me that there are some situations in life, there are some conditions that we've been in life that we want to overcome an habit, and it looks as if it is impossible to overcome that habit. It can be a bad habit, it can be an habit that is not just proper, but not necessarily bad. The point here is that number one, the student will need to have an open mind. Now, that open mind simply means that the mind is open for improvement. The mind is open for development. The mind is open to keep learning. The mind is open and liberal enough to take the slightest step to change his or her life. And remember this, that no one can help you if you are not willing to take any step to help yourself. I was in a hospital recently, and a young girl who had a cut was brought to the hospital. And when she was brought there, it was said that a broken plate tore her feet. And when she was brought there, the doctor attended to her, applied some things to clean the face of the sore. So when it got to the last work of the doctor came with the syringe and everything that he needs to sew the open part of the leg. And this young girl said no, that she would rather leave it like that she doesn't want the sewing. And one of the attendants, the facilitator, they said, you will have to get this your leg. So, but this young girl said no. And up to like 4 people came together in a bid to hold up to give the doctor the opportunity to sew the leg of these patients. But they couldn't. The point here is that no one can help any student beyond the level at which that student is willing to be helped. The only help that the patient was willing is that you clean my wound and you let me go. So the other sibling, the other family member that brought the girl got angry, threw all the receipts of the medication that she had bought, threw it at her and said, meet me at home. She was very angry. So an elderly person outside had to call the rough sibling, call her, the girl that was being attended to by the doctor, that had the doctor to leave her, stood up in a bid to move out. While they were going out, an elderly woman called both of them, spoke to them. For a few minutes, surprisingly, that girl came back. When she came back, she sat. They had to call the doctor back again. And she gave the permission for that sore to be sewn. Now, the key point here is that inspiration must always be in continuum. It must not stop. Youth can be very hard to influence. Even adults can find it very hard to change their behavior. But the point here is that if we ever stop at giving the right inspiration, giving the right medication, inspirational medication as I do call it, the condition that they might be in will be, it will be worsened tomorrow. So even if the change is not being seen, inspiration must not stop. For example, if you are the mother in a family and you have a daughter who is not doing well academically, you will be making every possible effort, even if the change is not showing, to keep open, to keep trying, to keep investing, and keep trusting that this young girl or the young boy will change. That is what you find in the life of Mindklass. The mother never gave up. He was doing poorly. The brother was doing poorly. The mother never gave up. The teachers never gave up. They kept inspiring. Inspiration changes more than the use of rods to correct youth. So my answer to you is that even if you want to change your behavior, let's assume you are the student and you are struggling, you are striving, have an open mind. Open your mind, expose yourself to knowledge. So keep learning, open your mind, ask for help. Even if you know that you may not use that help, keep asking. A time is coming when you will approach an energy that will force you to take the right decision. And as we continue in the class, we'll be learning about the science of changing behavior. There are 4 keys to changing our behavior in life, which I wouldn't like to mention here. But when we'll be talking about the science of changing behavior in the next class, in that class, you discover that we can change. Behavior can be changed. It might take time. It might take years. It might take decades. But if the right knowledge, the right energy, the right knowledge, inspiration is always being engaged, and we can have our youth change for the better. And don't forget, the danger of stopping because they are not changing is higher than not stopping and keep inspiring them, out of which you may not have 100 of them to change, but we will have a significant number of these youths who would eventually change for the better. So thank you very much. I don't know if I've been able to answer your question.
That's true. And then also they need to learn to motivate themselves, self-motivate themselves to be able to seek for this right knowledge, because false knowledge is just almost everywhere around. If one is not careful, you might ignorantly leading to.
Absolutely, that's true. I can't hear you. I can't hear you at all. Mrs. Priscilla, I can't hear you.